What's up, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Age of Quarantine, the afternoon edition, depending on where you're watching from. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, and man, I'm just gonna get into it. I am fucking pumped. So pumped. One of my favorite drummers of all time, Iggor Cavalera, formerly of Sepultura, currently is doing a project called Mix Hell, also of Cavaliera Conspiracy. He's done a lot of collabs as well. We're gonna get into. The guy is a fucking powerhouse. He is just a gem, a fucking legend, and just so musical. The evolution of Sepultura in the '90s that stepped up on Chaos AD and Roots was in due to his drumming. And in my opinion, you know, everybody in that band is phenomenal, always have been. But his drumming, and I know I'm a drummer here, his drumming is a huge reason why that band's sound progressed the way it did. He continues to do that now. He's doing some really cool electronic music, DJing, but also these great videos of him playing with his partner who's DJing. And, you know, we watch his drumming step up to a new level, getting very innovative and creative and using lots of different rhythms and things. So I can't wait to get into that with him. I know we're not all drummers out there, so we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. We're going to stay away from the drama, though. We're going to stick to music, origins, how he's doing, what he has planned ahead during all this insanity. But I really cannot wait to get into it with him. And if you have any questions, at all, use the question mark box in the bottom of the screen, or I'll do my best with the comments. But I'm going to get him on the screen right now, and we're going to get into it. So thanks for spending your time with us here on Age of Quarantine, and happy Friday. All right, let's see where you're at, Igor. I'm going to try to get you on the screen here. All right, there you are. I'm sending you an invite. And hopefully we'll get you on the screen here. Igor.
Oh, how are you, brother?
How are you, man? It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man. How you been?
I've been good. You know, it's so funny. We have a lot of mutual friends, and a couple of years ago, I played a show opening up for Dillinger Escape Plan with my band Primitive Weapons, and I thought I left the show, and I said to my bandmates, I was like, was that Iggor Cavalera back there? And they're like, no. And I'm like, no, I think it was. And then when we got to the next, the next country, we asked him, they're like, yo, that was Igor. He was there the whole time. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I could have hung out with you, but at least I have this.
Where, was this here in London?
It was in London, yeah. I think it was something like maybe it was at the O2.
Yeah. It was if I believe it was another English band also playing Three Trapped Tigers.
I think that was a different show. This was with the hip hop group Horror. You know that band? They were opening up. Yeah.
That was a different one. Yeah. I definitely remember that.
Good
times.
Fun. Yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, I'm just so excited, man. I'm going to fan out a little bit because I'm a drummer and you are one of my favorite drummers. You know, it's not so often that I get to sit down and have an hour with somebody that I've looked up to all my life. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Welcome to Age of Quarantine. How have you been getting through this insane past year or so?
It's been crazy, and I'm talking to, you know, like, I don't want to be that guy who's, you know, just looking at myself. I know everybody's going through this, and some people are having a very difficult time. And I'm also not only talking about health-wise with COVID, but also mentally. This has affected a lot of people, and you know, so it's also has affected me a lot, you know, and going through, you know, I mean, I look at the positive sides. I've been spending a lot of time with my family. I've been touring like crazy since I'm like 14.
You're right.
Like since like 1984. So it's a bit insane, like my lifestyle always been, you know, like almost like a circus kind of family.
Yeah.
So to be home for this long of a period, it's a blessing also, you know, to be near my loved ones. Of course, I cannot see all of my kids. I have 5 kids.
Wow.
And 2 of them live in Brazil. So we also in touch, but I wish I could see them more. I could see my mom, you know,
Right.
But then again, they're safe, they're healthy, and it's all good.
I'm glad to hear that. That's the most that you can hope for right now, is that your family is safe and healthy, you know?
Definitely, man.
Yeah. And we have this technology that we've been blessed with to do things like this. In terms of, you know, touring and recording, I know you've been doing some really cool stuff online, but how did it affect your schedule? You know, what did you have planned that you had to push back on?
Yeah, crazy stuff. Like, we're talking like a full year of touring and balancing things between all the projects that I do. So there were times where I was fighting for a certain date last year, for example, with like 2 projects, trying to figure out how I was going to fly from one place to the other to be present in most of the gigs that I wanted to do it. And then at one point it was all gone.
Right.
like most musicians, you know what I mean? Like at least the responsible ones, they're not playing any shows or exposing themselves at the moment. So I have to say it was all gone, you know. So it definitely affected us as a touring machine.
With Cavaliera Conspiracy.
With Cavaliera Conspiracy, with Pat Brick, this other project that I do here in London with a really good friend. Of course, Mix Hell with my wife, like more like a experimental electronic thing. All those things stopped. I also play in this band called Soulwax from Belgium.
Oh, wow.
Which it's like a 7-piece electronic, kind of like an amazing thing that we were doing for our like 2 years, touring a lot. And we're going to go and write a new album. Everything just fell through.
Damn.
And you know, I mean, like, I it's all good, man. It's all good. I'm not going to be looking at the negatives. And I just bless that all these people that I tour with and I play with, they're all healthy and they're all, you know, keeping strong together, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a lot of love here from people watching on Pet Brick. People really like that project, and there are people saying you should do a collaboration with Greg Puciato. There's some love here for Soulwax, and I gotta just take a comment that I liked here from at Shot by Ramos. Igor is the drummer who put South America on the map. I absolutely agree, and we'll get into that in a little bit, because I was just saying in my intro that a lot of bands evolve and change, and it might be because of songwriting or guitar playing or singing. In my opinion, the band that you were in, of course, Sepultura, I look at it, I go, the drums are what changed things, in my opinion, in terms of like totally evolving the sound and starting a new thing. So I agree with that statement. And anyway, we'll get into all that, but you're in the UK right now. I wanted to ask you, what brought you there and how long have you been there?
Well, I've been here for about 6 years now.
Okay.
And the main reason I moved here, it was because in Brazil it was very difficult to do especially the experimental electronic stuff that I'm into it. It's like there's not really a crowd for it or spaces. And then we have a management in London, and we had a booking agent and all that stuff. So it made sense for us to be here closer. I always consider myself like a nomad, like a natural born immigrant forever.
Right.
So no matter where I am, you know, it's like I feel Brazilian. I am Brazilian, and I take that with me. And I don't need to be in Brazil to feel that power. I can be in London. I can be in Japan. Anywhere. So I go where things are happening. That's my way of living, really.
I love that that way of thinking, because it is mirrored by the way that you develop as a musician too, because you have really evolved a lot in terms of the eclectic taste that you have, and you've not just stayed in one place. A lot of people, you know, for their entire lives, for better or worse, you know, you could be like AC/DC and write the same record over and over again, and it's amazing. but there's also something cool about exploring.
Yeah, repetition is also really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
But for me as a musician, I feel like if I repeat myself and if I keep doing the same thing, I'm poisoning my spirit.
Yeah, and I think that when you're in a situation like yourself where you have such capabilities to do much more than just one genre. I mean, you're DJing. As a drummer, rhythmically, you were doing a lot of different things in the 90s with Sepultura when you were coming out of the thrash metal movement. And now today, when I watch your videos with your partner doing mix house stuff, it's almost comparable to, I think, John Stanier from Helmet, where both of you guys were known for being powerhouse drummers in lots of groove, and now with him in Battles, with a much smaller drum set, doing some really experimental stuff. I feel like you guys both kind of developed in a similar way.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned, because he's actually one of my best friends.
I love John.
Yeah, he's amazing. Like, actually last time I was in New York, we got to hang out together. We did this radio show there, and then he came down and we were hanging. He's one of the coolest guys I met.
He's the best. Yeah, I met him at a Quicksand show I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm sober now, but I was pretty drunk and I fanned out on him pretty badly. And then my day job, I work at Revolver Magazine, and he was actually at one of my events and recognized me, and he just started laughing because of how wasted I was when we met. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Next thing you know, we're exchanging numbers, and now we talk, and he's been on the show. So he really is a great guy. Drummers, man, drummers are the best.
That's it.
It really is. So let me ask you, in terms of, I want to go back to like your origins. So you just talked about, no matter where you go, you're always going to be Brazilian. You take that with you. So I'd like to go into your life story from the beginning, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's dig.
Let's dig, man. It's going to be like therapy, but in front of all these people that are watching. And everybody watching, I'll take your questions at some point. Give me until 1/2 the hour, and we're going to get into it a little bit, and then I'll see what kind of questions you guys have. We're going to stay away from anything dramatic. So there you go. None of that. Okay. So talk to me about how you got started with your journey. You and your brother are 13, 14 years old when you start the band. Tell me, when and how did you start playing drums? And then when does metal and aggressive music enter your life?
All right. So it's a funny story, because I started playing drums when I was like 7.
Wow. Like
way before any thought of joining a band. I love the drums. And the reason I love the drums, it was because of samba, like the Brazilian African rhythm, that it's played everywhere in Brazil, but especially it was played on football stadiums. Okay. And me and my brother, we were always really into football. Like our dad used to take us to see his team, which became our team. And on the stadium, they always have these guys playing percussion during the game. Right. Which is something very, very Brazilian, but they play like samba and all this crazy rhythms during the game. So I remember also times where I wouldn't even watch the game. I was watching the guys playing the drums. So that was like my start with drumming. And then when I was about 8, I tried to do some drum lessons. Okay. And unfortunately, I had a really bad teacher, which was like this jazz snob kind of guy who doesn't really understand the creativity and the raw power of a kid who just want to bash on the drums. Right. So he was trying to teach me all this like technical things that they come later, but he wouldn't understand. So that's one of the reasons also, we can go into this later, but you had to be very, very careful with drum lessons, because they can either be a blessing or a curse. Yeah. And that goes for like depending on the teacher. Yeah, we had so many kids traumatized from whoever they get inspired, and they get like, they don't want to play the drums anymore or touch the piano ever again.
Yeah.
So I had one of those cases, but I was crazier than the guy. So instead of like giving up, I just said, I'm just going to teach myself. So I start like buying little pieces and making my own samba, like little rhythm section at my house.
That's awesome.
And then when I was about 11 and my brother was 12, we had this crazy hippie cousin who took us to see Queen in Brazil.
Oh wow, that's insane that you got to see Queen.
Yeah, we got to see Queen at there was that tour of The Game. It was like the album.
Right.
And they play at this football stadium in Brazil, and it was mind blowing.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And then these two kids from that day, all we could think about was like, we want to have a band.
Right.
And
if there's any band you're gonna watch that's gonna make you feel that way, it's got to be Queen.
Yeah, it was either Queen or Kiss at that time.
Right.
Those are the two bands who like they will play a stadium and they were push you to do things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we watched this, and I have to say, Max also is a good drummer. We used to play drums together, but I'm actually better than him. So I end up playing the drums, and then he ended up picking up the guitar.
Okay.
And then we started Sepultura around when we were 12, 13.
That is so wild. Okay, so go get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the crazy thing is like later on when we're doing stuff like Chaos AD, where I could bring some of the Brazilian samba stuff into my playing, it was like a 360 thing where I was like, wow, finally I can play some weird stuff that I love, who brought me to drums. I can bring those rhythms. And that became kind of like my, I don't know, my style, my signature.
It became your signature sound. So you actually answered my next question, which was, obviously when the band started out, well, actually, can we go back a second? Yeah. I wanted to ask you who your drum heroes were at the time that you were teaching yourself and learning. Who were or are your, the drummers that really had an impact on you?
They were and they still are, actually. There's two guys that I really looked up, which was Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, mm-hmm. that I'll put a Sabbath vinyl and try to play along to it. Yeah, that was my thing, And then later, like someone like Stuart Copeland from the Police.
Oh my God, hell yeah!
Because I could not understand how primal and how crazy his drumming was. Like even for a pop band, which Police wasn't really my cup of tea. But Stuart Copeland for me was like, wow, this guy is insane. And then it was like, I think that's also how I end up like incorporating, because I could see that he was bringing like this weird jazzy and also like a lot of like the reggae stuff to what he was doing. And then I realized that I could do the same thing with Sepultura at one point, bring those elements to it, and playing with that raw power, it makes sense.
Definitely. He's another one of those drummers like you where the band's great, but then it's really like the drums are like really kind of pushing the music to another level because of how, I don't even know the word, aside from unique, but you could be sitting there playing a song, whether you're in Sepultura or the Police, and be playing a basic beat for whatever genre it is, but that is not what you or Stuart do, and it's not like you're even the same kind of drummer, but it goes to show you that your band is only as good as your drummer. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, that was also my thing. I always felt like if a band, even if you listen to stuff like Fela Kuti, for example, like some crazy Afrobeat, man, that stuff, it touch you, in a different way. And that goes to what you're saying, it's a good way to put, because when you have a driving force as a drummer that can touch you that deep, all the things follow it,
Definitely. Now, when the early days of Sepultura, obviously, very thrash, elements of death metal, as we know. When the band evolved, and then you started bringing in that samba influence and the Brazilian sort of drum what was, talk about that time period when when you were looking to kind of say, hey guys, I have an idea? Like, how did that sort of develop?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, you know, like during Morbid Visions, we were influenced by bands like Venom and like Hellhammer, like even like the first wave of black metal. They were pretty big. We were exchanging later with bands like Death in America,
Yeah.
and Morbid Angel and all those guys. So at that time, my drumming, it was very focused on doing something that it was necessary for the music,
Yeah.
more than trying to express myself in any crazy way.
Right.
So I was my line of thinking was like to keep it very minimal and very like raw, so I could somehow replicate some of those sounds that I was hearing, which was like a lot of those early black metal stuff, but also like hardcore bands like with the D beat and all those things for me were very important. But then when we get to like even to Arise, I could see that by swinging certain things, it sounded even more like special.
Yeah, opens it up a little bit.
Yeah, and then more and more, it got to the point where I like to put it where I started writing riffs with my drums.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely were like Territory.
Like, yeah, that was the game changer where I would come to the rehearsal and be like, I wrote this insane beat. Can you guys make a riff to go with it?
Yeah.
So
like
it was like I flipped the coin.
Cutthroat was one of those beats that I thought was cool. There's the obvious ones like Territory and Roots, but Cutthroat had a really cool kind of Brazilian vibe going on.
Yeah, because again, it's more percussive than drumming. It's almost like, you know, like I read in an interview that Jimi Hendrix used to look at every instrument as a percussion rather than trying to go deep into the technical side of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where it goes for me, where I was trying to do all this weird like beats and stuff. They became like a riff. And I think Lombardo, like I would like to mention also Dave Lombardo from Slayer. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Latino thing, but we do, you know, bring the, you know, this weird thing that it makes it more than just a drum beat. It makes
I think Latino drummers definitely have more of that. I mean, look at Mackie from Cro-Mags, you know what I mean?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, for real. I think that, and I told you it's going to fan out a little bit, a lot of the heavy bands were having this sound that was like very Pantera or Injustice for All with the clicky stuff going on. Not with you. You had a very raw drum sound, and I also know Alex Newport. Shout out to Alex. I've worked with him before in the studio. What was it like working with him? Because, man, I think Chaos AD, I'm just going to say this on record, and Roots, personally, are the best metal recordings I've ever heard and the most powerful, hands down. And it's because of how raw it is.
Yeah, and I think a big portion of this is Andy Wallace, man.
Oh yeah.
He was involved like big time, and I remember talking to Andy about like drums, where I asked him like, look, I'm sponsored by this company, so when we go to the studio, what should I bring? And then Andy was like, bring whatever you're playing at the rehearsal or when you're playing live. Don't try anything funky.
Okay.
Just make it simple, and we can get the, you know, the sound of those drums rather than sampling and putting a lot of reverb, which was a big thing in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was like almost like trying to capture exactly how I was playing. And that was a big lesson for me, you know, like from people like him or Mike Bording from Faith No More. I remember he's telling me how if you want your drum to sound big, you got to have a big drum and you got to hit it hard. And then you don't rely on any effects. You don't need even like your sound man, just put a microphone and you're going to sound like a thunder, you know?
Yeah, you, Mike Borden, Dale Crover, those types of drums, those big ass fucking, he had a 16-inch floor tom. I'm not going to nerd out too much on drums because there's a lot of people watching, not drummers. But and by the way, we're not going to spend the whole time on Sepultura. We're going to move on. There's a lot more to talk about, but I'm almost done here with this part of the interview. But you spent a lot of time away from them at this point, and you've been with your brother again. You know, what was it like getting back with him? I imagine aside from the personal part of it, that must have felt so good to reunite. Songwriting for the two of you must be so seamless because of the fact that you started at 13, 14 years old together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like writing music with my brother. And I guess a lot of brothers who grew up playing music together, they do have this synchronicity of ideas and things. Like sometimes my brother can tell how much coffee I had before the show. Right. By the way I'm speeding things up, he just look at me and he's just laughing. And then he's like, man, you have way too much coffee. You know, one of those things where we're going to hit a super heavy part. And if he looks back, I know I need to slow down. He doesn't need to say anything. I'm going too fast. And then this on the corner of his eye, he's just going like, oh shit. Yeah, way too fast for this shit now. So those things, I think, you know, like definitely the guys, you know, like from Pantera, they had that, you know, like Alex and Eddie Van Halen. You know, it's a broader thing where it's I don't know, we don't need to say anything. We just look at each other. We know exactly where we need to go to push things and to do certain things. You know,
the greatest thing about Cavaliera Conspiracy is also it's a return to form for you guys, bringing back that old school music that you started playing. It's a callback to you know, like you said, when you were playing music inspired by Venom and Death and all that cool stuff. Psychosis in 2017, I put it on and it brings me back to those early releases. So it's got to feel cool to have that in addition to all the other stuff that you're doing to get that, you know, because it's still in you, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like the cool thing about Cavalera and doing things with my brother like that is that we are open to do things like this. We can revisit where we were in a garage and try to recreate that feeling that we had when we're just me, him, and him playing like in a garage together. And then on Psychosis, it was a lot to do also with Arthur Risk, the producer.
Oh yeah, he really knows how to get that, everybody. Yeah,
and it was funny because Arthur came up like at some points. I remember he was talking to Max and he was like, "Oh, that's not it. I need Max, you know, beneath the remains here."
Yes,
that's not it. And then I remember looking at him going like, "You bastard! What are you saying?" And then later I look at Max and I was like, "Dude, he was completely right because he was pushing us to dig deep into our thing, you know."
Yeah, definitely. Let me see what kind of questions I have before I continue on to my own. Oh, this is an interesting one. I was gonna get into this later, but we'll take this now. This is from @Druce_Willis. How did you find out about Strife and what was touring with them like? I know you played on one of their full lengths.
Well, it's a funny story because I was really into a lot of like the straight edge bands from Victory Records at that time. And then Strife, we were during Chaos AD, we're writing Chaos AD. Like actually at the end of Chaos AD tour, Strife played Phoenix and I was there like writing some stuff. And then I went to see them live and then I hang out with them for a little bit. And to this day, those guys are like some of my best friends.
Oh, they're awesome. Yeah.
And we kind of like bonded over a lot of things, including like the whole straight edge scene with a lot of heavy music. And then I remember when we did Roots, I asked Strife to come on tour with us in Europe.
Right.
So they came to Europe and played the whole Roots tour with us. And then from that on, I kind of like became, I don't know, like part of, we go back and forth between me and Strife through history, to the point that I record a whole album with them. And Andrew
was
always hanging out.
Witness a Rebirth, right? Witness a
yeah,
Rebirth.
Yeah. And then Andrew is like one of my best friends. He comes on tour with me. I don't know, like every time I tour America, he gets like some time off, and then he just comes on the road to help me out with the drums.
That's great.
Even though he's not a drum tech, but he does that just so we can hang.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's an amazing thing that we do together, and they're a great band, you know. So
Stratford's one of the greatest from the '90s, one of the greatest hardcore bands of that time, and they're still going. That record you did with them is phenomenal. I'm gonna take a couple more questions before we get into mine. Okay, this is from Confines World. What's up, baby? How did the Def Brick collaboration come together?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with this band called Deaf Kids from Brazil. They put out records on New Rot with the Neurosis guys.
Yes.
And they're like one of the coolest bands out of Brazil at the moment. Kind of like a very, very psychedelic deep beat kind of thing they do. And then when they invited us to do a collaboration set on Roadburn, that festival in Holland.
Oh, it's great. I was supposed to go last year, and yeah.
Yeah, man. So the year before we did a thing at Roadburn together, which was kind of like this improvised / big noise thing together. And then from that gig, we clicked so much with those guys that we decided to do a record together, which came out on New Rock Records and Rocket here in Europe. And it's a weird thing. It's kind of like an Aphex Twin meets Motorhead on ayahuasca, something like that.
Awesome. I got a couple more questions here. This is from @WolfLikeMeow. Is it true you were asked to play in Fantomas before Dave Lombardo?
That is true. It's funny because the other day I was watching an interview with Patton, which again, it's one of my best friends.
I love Patton. I'm actually on his record label.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So he was doing an interview with Eric Andre about the new Fantomas. And then he dropped that because not that many people know that I was the first guy he asked to do Fantomas, like before anybody else. And I was too busy at the time with Sepultura, and I couldn't do it. But then I was the one who told him to go after Lombardo to do it.
Wow, that's awesome. I would have loved to have seen you with them. I know and Dale and Terry Bozzio both had a chance to play with them. It would be cool to see you play with them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can do it, really. That shit's too crazy, man.
I believe you can do it.
I think I can, but I would have to, my hard drive would have to be very clean. Because that stuff, it's out of control, man.
No coffee for you before that gig.
No, man, I would lose my mind.
Yeah. Got a couple more here from the Dillinger Compound. Greg Puciato and Pat Brick need to collaborate. You think that's something we could ever see?
Yeah, I mean, I did something with Mixed Hell with Greg.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. He did a collaboration, one track with Mixed Hell, which sounds very kind of like, I don't know, like old school synth 80s, kind of like John Carpenter kind of thing. And then he did some vocals for us. There's even a video on YouTube with Mixed Hell and Greg. So it's really cool, man. So I do love Greg, and I would collaborate with him on anytime on anything, man.
Greg's the best, man. He's so talented. His new record is phenomenal. Both with Kill or Be Killed and his solo project. Much like you, doing a lot of different stuff. I'm going to take one last question for now, which is a good one before I get back into my own questions. But this is from @OreoKnife. What got you interested in collaborating with Power Trip? Rest in peace, Riley Gale, by the way. Purient. And shout out to Dominic and Becca and Arthur Risk.
Yeah. I'm rocking out the Vatican Shadow.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Becca's watching right now. That's awesome. Yeah, we love Dom. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they're the best couple. And it's funny because I was playing in Mexico with Cavalera. And then I looked and I saw the Prurient was playing Mexico.
Yeah.
And then I hit Becca on her Instagram. I was like, are you guys in Mexico? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, holy shit, let's hang out. So we went out for food. And we got to hang out, and then they came to see Cavalera. There's even like a funny video of us playing, And then Dominic's just headbanging on the side of the stage, and it's like 1,000 Mexican kids going crazy.
Right.
So they came to hang out, and then after that gig, Dom asked me if I wanted to participate on this big hospital festival they were doing in New York.
Yeah.
So they flew me from London to do this thing, and then of course Arthur Risk was also a big part of it. So we did a few interventions on Power Trip set with some noise, and then we did a big thing during Prurient, and Merzbow was playing, one of my favorite artists. So it was an amazing night. You know, Justin from Godflesh, I saw you rocking the shirt.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah. He was he also was playing with a few of his projects. And so that's like how the whole thing came out, and it was amazing to do something with those guys.
That's awesome. I was going to ask about that at some point, because I know you've gotten a lot into you know, what they're doing over at Hospital and bands like Uniform, and you know, it's cool to see you keeping your ear to the ground of what's happening in the underground now today with the current times. But before we get there, we'll revisit that. Let's get into Mix Hell. I love what you're doing with your partner. It's so cool to see the two of you making really awesome music, and you trying new things as a drummer, but more so just cool that you're together. I think I love seeing when couples are, I'm in a band with a couple, so I love, you know, seeing that collaboration. How did that come about?
Well, that's the thing, man. It's crazy because when I left Sepultura, I made this decision that I was never going to play again with anyone unless I loved them.
Okay.
Yeah. That was I'm too old and life's too short. And I was like, look, I'm only going to play with people that I truly love.
That's a good motto to have in life.
And then I reconnect with my brother, and then we started doing Cavalera. And then I was already doing Mix Hell with my wife, which, funny enough, like, it was during the time that I left the band, I started DJing and doing more like of electronic stuff with her. And I was getting hell by, like, everyone was calling me like, oh yeah, Igor turned gay. Now he's like this.
That's so fucked up, man.
Yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
It's all good because people have whatever they want to say. It's, you know what I mean? Like, but, and that also never, you know, I always did what I want. That doesn't really sharp me off anything. So Mix Hell, it was a big thing for me because I was truly experimenting and playing clubs like in Berlin, where DJing in clubs where they don't even see the DJ. It's just about the music. They don't even know what you look like or what you're wearing. So those things for me were very inspiring at that time, where it was really important to, I don't know, recreate sounds and affect people by those sounds rather than the whole, I don't know, like in metal, there's too much sometimes of like worshiping the persona.
Right. Or politics too, drama, just that sort of thing. And in this sense, you're just focused on music, but also sounds and experience, which is something that I think is probably very refreshing, having been exposed to that stuff and being into some of that stuff. You went straight into my next question, which was like, I wanted to know how you sort of got into electronic music and DJing and making that shift. Like, what was it that opened that door for you, where you kind of saw a new world of possibilities?
Well, I think at the time, like we're talking about when I left Sepultura, I felt like the whole scene was a bit, I was a bit bored, to be honest. And then I started seeing certain things on electronic music where they were experimenting with like African sounds and things that I was like, I really wanted that, you know, like after we did stuff like Roots, where we experiment so much, I was in need to hear some more of that stuff, where people would really dig deep into whatever they were into and bring that into a sonic way of doing it. Like a lot of crazy, even like crazy black metal bands from Norway.
Yeah,
they dig deep into their roots and brought some of that to their sound, which was amazing. But I felt like in electronic music at that time, there was a lot of space and a lot of people with an open mind to experiment with that. And that's what, I don't know, like trigger me to go into like more to do like a lot of the mix house stuff, do remixes. Like I did a remix for like Morbid Angel with Mix Hell. We remixed Boris from Japan.
Oh yeah, Boris is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we also did some stuff for Moby, like play together in New York at one time. So it was a cool thing, you know, at the time to I don't know, to open our mind to more stuff.
Yeah, and it's also obviously a natural progression, I bet, because it's percussive and it's about mix and matching beats and doing it in such a way that is you know, making people move, just like, you know, what you were doing before, but in a different medium, I guess.
Exactly.
And with Mix Hell, you know, for anybody watching that hasn't watched the videos, you are playing. Sometimes you DJing, but you're also playing drums with your wife, which is cool. You still get to see yourself doing what we're all familiar with, just in a different way. You played on Ladytron's record. You collaborated on a track. You want to talk about that? Was last year. Talk about how that came about and how you felt about the outcome.
They're good friends, you know. Ladytron, like they're an amazing band. I don't know, like they've been around for a long time, and I mean they're again like friends that we toured together, we did stuff together, and then when they were doing their last record, they were recording outside of London here, and then I got a call from Danny, and he was like, "Yeah, man, come down to the studio if you up to do a track with us." And I'm like I said, I'm all about playing with people that I love, and Danny's definitely one of those guys. All it took was one phone call, and next thing I know, I was in the studio, like doing some weird beats for him.
It's a rad track, and anyone watching, if you haven't, you know, some people I think that are watching are already following a lot of your electronic stuff and kind of the projects that you've been doing outside of metal. But if you're not, this is a great track that everyone should check out. I'm jumping around a little bit just because I have such a big list of questions. So forgive me if you feel like I'm kind of going in random places.
All good, man.
But going back to, well, let's stick on top with electronic industrial stuff, because you mentioned Purient, Vatican Shadow, and I mentioned Uniform as well, who are another great band here in Brooklyn. What are some of the other artists, you know, because you're so good at showing your support for artists. I love that about you. What are some other artists right now that are doing cool stuff in that sort of realm that you're enjoying?
Oh man, there's a lot of good stuff. There's, you know, there's tons of I don't know, like I like the idea of people experimenting again with sounds and not being afraid of trying new things. And I have to say, like, there is doing that, like just making weird noise. Like, there's a whole label in Africa called Nyege Nyege. I can write down later the link.
Yeah.
And they release tapes, and they just released this this duo called Duma, and it's these two guys from Uganda, and they mix kind of like electronics with like black metal, grindcore, all that stuff. So
wow.
So shit like this, it keeps me like really interested on new music. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big Bandcamp like hunter.
Send later on when we're done, if you can send me the link. I'd like to check that out.
I'll send you like a top 10 stuff that I'm listening at the moment.
Yeah.
And you can post and then whatever people, if they want to dig in.
Yeah, absolutely.
This weird thing. Yeah, someone just wrote the name of the label correct, so that's it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take this interview and put it on YouTube within the next week or so. Cool. So I can include some things in that post if you want to send me.
Yeah, I'll send you some tips to some crazy stuff that I listen to. And again, I think most of that stuff, it goes under the radar because they're released only on Bandcamp. They're not on Spotify or any of the big channels. So it's cool to keep your ears open for crazy underground music, man.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we're in a point too where there's no shortage of it. There is so much great stuff out there, and I can speak to that just on the coming from a place like St. Vitus. I don't know if you've been yet, but
I want to play, man.
you have to,
I
please.
want
We
to
want to
play.
have you. Let's get you down there in any capacity.
Yes, brother.
So, yeah, lots of great bands and artists, but
I mean, I watch probably a million videos of acts that I love that play St. Vitus. I mean,
oh,
you know,
amazing.
there's so many cool, you know, of course, a lot of heavy stuff, but also some experimental stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a cool place, man. I would love to play one day.
We're ready for you. I know Max has been here before.
I know. He loved it, man. He was like, dude, this is crazy because it reminded him of New York when we first went to New York, when it was way crazy.
Yeah. Definitely. That was the idea. It was like, you know, there's no more CBGBs, there's no more Coney Island High or wetlands, and I bet those are the places that you're thinking of.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, man. I first saw you play in New York at Roseland. It was on the Against tour, but that was my first time watching you, and that was a great venue, great show that I'll never forget. Yeah, as I said, I'm kind of jumping around. When it comes to metal these days, which I know you just mentioned, there's some stuff that has a little black metal influence and things that are on your radar. In terms of just contemporary metal bands, are you paying attention to much of that these days, or?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of cool stuff. I don't know, like that's the crazy thing. My brother, he's the raider for metal, man.
Yeah.
Like he knows about all the underground metal stuff all over the globe.
It's
like,
amazing.
Every time I see him, he's like, "Oh, have you heard this band from Siberia?" And I'm like, "Dude, what?" And then he sent me a link, and I'm like, "Dude, this is amazing." Or, there's this, you know, there's this Russian, you know, like weird thing with like ritual music, and then I'm like, yes. So yeah, like I have a good channel in metal, like especially underground metal with my brother, where he always showing me like cool stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that you both are the same way, and that's why I love both of you guys, because you always will wear T-shirts or patches or just shout out bands, and that's something that is genuine. You don't have to do that, but you're really interested in it, and you try. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, we still fans, man. We still fans of bands. You know what I mean? Like even if those bands, they mean like they were not even born when I was doing my shit.
Right.
I'm still a fan. You know, like a band like Full of Hell, for example.
Right.
I remember when they came up, and I was like, dude, those guys are amazing, and they're totally influenced by us.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like stuff like this, and I get really annoyed when I see, especially people like me, older guys, like I'm 50, when they say that, oh, there's nothing good right now. They're just fucking lazy, man.
Yeah.
They're not looking around, you know, and I get annoyed because I think there's always going to be amazing people doing amazing music, you know, no matter what time it is, how crazy things are, there's always stuff. There's the only people who don't see it is because they're too lazy to look at it.
Totally. Dark and aggressive music is on is a huge renaissance for the past 10 years, and it's getting stronger. Speaking of fans, I'm going to go from underground to mainstream here. One of the biggest Sepultura fans out there is Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters, and he mentioned that there is a song. I don't know if you've heard the song "Run." It was a single from their last album, and he went on record talking about your drumming and how that song was influenced by the album Roots. And I know he's friends with Max, and Max was on Probot, but have you heard the Foo Fighters song "Run" and check that out? He's got a Cavalera beat in that song.
Really?
Yeah, it was a single.
You know, it's funny because he even did like this. I saw him in a festival once, Dave, and he came up to me and he was like, "Look, man, I need to put some money on your account." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I've been biting your beats for so long. I need to pay you something." And I was like, yeah, like he was joking around like that. And I was like, wow, that's cool, because I do think he's an amazing drummer. Even though I really think he, you know, like he doesn't show on Foo Fighters, which is a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, but when he plays with the Queens of the Stone Age or any other projects, when he's just drumming, he's insane.
He's insane. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he definitely lifted a few of your licks on Probot on that one track. But check out the song "Run." It's a hit single, and it's almost like if he's claiming that he took one of your beats, I'm gonna guess it's like Cutthroat, like sped up, kind of. You can kind of hear it in there.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Pretty funny.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah. um, so let's. What time is it? How much time do we have? We've about 10 minutes here.
Cool.
I wanted to ask you what you have coming up. You know, and I know you want to promote your YouTube channel and your Patreon. So why don't we get into that right now?
Yeah, and then going back to what you said about during this pandemic times, I wanted to do something. I felt really weird about the whole streaming, people trying to do streaming shows, and that doesn't really capture being in a live concert, you know, like, and that was something that no matter how much we try, it failed somehow. So I felt one thing that could be in some way bringing closer to fans who cannot go to shows right now, it would be to do something that you can have a connection. And that was the idea of doing the YouTube channel, where I can tell the stories behind not only how I played, because you can watch those videos on YouTube, there's a million live videos, but also the story behind each track. So I'm gonna be posting like every month a different track, where I kind of like do a X-ray, kind of like a dissect, and I even tell people like that beat over there, I like kind of like what Dave Grohl did. Right. It's like I was biting on John from Helmet.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I tell exactly, like, so people can hear like, okay, that beat right there, I was inspired by, you know, like MF Doom, whatever.
Right,
like,
right. Yeah,
so it brings a whole new perspective of when you see the song again, you know.
That's fucking great. I love that. And so you launched it, what, 2-3 weeks ago?
I watched it at Christmas, like the first video.
Yeah.
And then the next one should be dropping in a few days.
Okay.
And it's amazing because I also do with my wife, you know, like she films everything and edit with me. So it's a complete like underground thing. There's no big company behind, nothing like that.
Right.
So it's like for me to whoever wants to dig deep into my drumming and the history behind, you know, going with the Chavantes tribe in Brazil, recording with them, all of this is going to be in it, you know.
So how do we, if we go to your Instagram, is the link there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So if you just click on my link there, it takes you straight to the YouTube channel.
Okay, and then there's a Patreon too, right? Yeah,
the Patreon thing, again, it's, I also do something very special. Whoever wants to dive super deep, which I can send them the track that I play separated, just the drums.
Wow.
So they can play along, learn, or listen to a million times, sample, remix it, whatever, you know.
That is rad. What everyone's asking, what's the next song that you're going to do?
It's going to be It's Sorry from Roots with the Chavantes tribe. I really wanted to show them the essence of tribal drumming that I went to do on that track. So it's cool. It's almost like a mini documentary on one song.
That's amazing, Igor. I think that's such a cool way to connect with your fans, and even when the pandemic is over, probably something that people would really enjoy for you to continue doing.
Yeah, I'll definitely continue, because again, the only reason I had never done this, it was because of so much touring. I never had the time to stop. But I always, like I said, I have a thing about teaching the drums and being a bit too, you know what I mean, like, I don't know, too rough on certain things you should do, you know what I mean? Like, and I want to inspire rather than let people down, you know what I mean? Like, if they watch me and they be like, oh, I don't want to play the drums again, that's too hard. I want to do the opposite. Yeah. I want kids to grab the sticks and beat on everything in their house, you know.
That's a great message to put out there, especially after what you said earlier with how difficult some teachers can be. I think that's a very encouraging message to aspiring drummers out there. Let's take, let's see, we have 6 minutes left. I saw a couple more questions from people. We're going to take a couple of those, and then we'll go into final comments and shout outs and things. Okay. at DH Mortimer, what about a new Pet Brick album?
Yeah, we're gonna be recording a new Pet Brick album next week. I start.
Oh shit! Okay, there you go.
So yeah, so that's gonna be a lot of horrible noise fueled by coffee coming your way.
Let's see. At Robbins Clint 07, will Cavaliera Conspiracy do another record with Arthur Rizzick? Sound of Psychosis record is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want to have Arthur involved. Me and Max are talking about doing an EP this year, Cavalera EP. Maybe go even harder than we did on Psychosis, like do something completely extreme. And I would love to have Arthur involved. You know,
he did a fantastic job of capturing
definitely
the of the guys. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay. And then we have at Daniel. I can't say your last name. I'm sorry. I'm trying here. Iggor, can you tell us a bit about your project with Joe Gordo? I'm saying his name wrong too. Maybe
that's fine, man. That's fine. It's in Portuguese, so I don't blame you. It's a fucked up language. So yeah, so I don't really did a project with a João Gordo, which is from this old school hardcore band from Brazil called Ratos de Porão. But there was this thing online which the guitar player from Entombed, AD, he hit me up and he was like, I'm doing this one track and would you play drums on it? It was like a YouTube like project thing where you get different musicians to play one song. So that's what we did. And it was a song against the government in Brazil right now, which is like the president and all the right wing like things,
right,
similar to America.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was like a song to that represents how much we're not happy which what's happening in Brazil right now. So that was the project.
We need more protest music like that. So that's great, man. And well, this is amazing. And you want to just drop? You have various socials. So there's Mix Hell. It's just at Mix Hell. And then Iggor Cavalera with 2 G's is your personal, and then of course Cavaliera Conspiracy. Are there any final announcements or just anything you want to drop and let people know about before we?
No, man, I think we're good. You know, like it's if you hit the Iggor thing, you pretty much knows most of the stuff that it's going on. But I think it was a very special conversation, man.
Man, it's something for me. It's very special because I've been listening to you for more than half of my life. So
yeah, it's funny because I jumped in when you're doing a talk with Barney from Napalm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have to get him back because that internet situation was all over the place.
Yeah, I think he's near Birmingham.
Yeah, he was such a cool guy.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah, considering the situation we were dealing with. Well, I think he had to hop off like 5 or 6 times while we were doing it. So crazy. But I'm glad that you watched the show and that you're paying attention.
I definitely do, man. I definitely do.
Thank you, man. Well, I'm happy to know you, and I hope that we get to meet in person one day. And I look forward to hearing about these tapes and music that you can send my way to check out.
Yeah, I'll send the link and we'll definitely be in touch, man. But that was great. I think it was a good talk and I could see a lot of cool people who showed up and they were writing stuff. Actually, my son also wrote something in there. So big shout out.
Yeah, lots of people.
Cool.
From all over
even
the
the family's watching.
Oh, the family's watching, man. And we got people from all over Russia and Argentina and Brazil and Mexico. I saw all over the place.
We keep international.
Yes. If you're watching right now, guys, if you didn't catch the beginning and you want to go back, this will be on the St. Vitus Instagram in about 2 minutes. I'm going to make sure it's on there, and it will be on YouTube as well. And Iggor, thank you so much, man. And stay safe out there, and send our best to your family and to your bandmates and everybody.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much, and hope to see you guys soon. And
I sure hope so. Take care, brother.
Be safe, everyone.
Okay. Talk to you soon, brother.
Okay.
Bye. That was fucking awesome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'm going to go blast some Sepultura now because now I'm amped. Take care, everybody.